Heyo,
What is up, man?
what's happening? Welcome back. Draft Eve, everyone. 'Twas the night before the NFL draft.
Yes, it's like Christmas all over again here in April, I guess, almost May, but yeah, it's beautiful. It's finally here, although the anticipation is still building up. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be thinking about the draft all day at work tomorrow,
Oh,
thinking to
yes.
myself, is it time yet? Is it time yet? I'll be on the coverage with Cover One tomorrow night, and throughout the draft, so I'm excited for that again.
Perfect.
It was a lot of fun last year, but man, the energy is flowing right now.
Definitely one of the most fun times of year. I mean, I think it's playoff games and round one of the NFL draft for me. Those, obviously, any playoff game goes ahead of the draft, in my opinion, but close second, NFL draft night.
That's right.
It's very exciting until about round 4. Then it gets a little weird, but
And I know that you and Heather usually do something special for the NFL draft. You got something going this year?
So, a little backstory, real quick. I threw a draft party when we started dating, and as you know, I'm a football nerd, and turns out nobody really likes the draft as much as me. So nobody showed up to my party. So it ended up being just me and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, watching the NFL draft. And since then, we took it personal. So now we every year we travel and do a little getaway, just me and her. So we've traveled all over the place on draft night, post up in the hotel, get some drinks, get some food, and just have a good time. So we're going to Washington, D.C. this year.
Very nice.
Never really been there. Going downtown, doing the museum thing. Always been there on business, never been there on like tourism stuff. So it's gonna be
it's
good time.
Fun. It's definitely fun. The monuments are a lot smaller in person, I think, but it's the museums are great. I could do the museums all day there. Really, there's so many in DC, but that should be a great trip. And of course, you're watching the draft and tuning in and spending that time together. I love that tradition. Who couldn't as a football fan?
To be honest,
I wish my wife would even watch anything with me.
But it was a lot more fun when the Bills, picked top 5. Now we sit there and we wait a while. We go through every single player story, right? ESPN has all the tragedies on there.
More anticipation, though. More anticipation.
Yes, for sure. So it's still fun, but that Josh Allen year was probably the most fun.
Oh yeah, you wanted him and you got him, so that must have been on a bigger level even for you.
Yes, seems like that was only one at the time, but
yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Hoof Podcast. We are going to get into round 1, picks 1 through 32, leading up to the Bills pick at 25. Anthony will have odd picks. I will have even. And we're going to go through this and kind of throw some new scenarios in there, maybe talk about spots the Bills could trade up to. We are going to do what we think they're going to do. That's the perspective. Obviously, we want fan participation, so each pick, please jump in, and we'll do a little fan tally, right? See what the fans want here. So doing that, rumors with Sterling are true, folks. Sterling is now going to Buffalo Rumblings. We wish him the best. There's no bad blood here. Been a real pleasure to work with him, and we look forward to having him on the show and interacting with us in the future. So
absolutely, still a brother to us.
Yes,
but,
for sure. Wish him the best.
New directions. So yes, all the best moving forward.
Yes. So I'm back in the seat here. So we'll see how this goes.
Back behind the mic.
Took a little hiatus, working schedule and things like that. But I'm happy to fill in. We'll go from here. So let's kick it off. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it, man. We're going through a full first round. I'm excited.
A lot of picks
I've
to
been
get to. I do have some rumors here, so as we go through this, kind of read those off. So let's kick it off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get their franchise quarterback last year. Disaster of a head coach situation, right? Coming
mm,
into this year, Doug Peterson's taken over, and they got their quarterback. I mean, a couple key players, Laviska Shenault comes to mind. Josh Allen on defense comes to mind. Uh, Kayla Chase on last year on the defense. I thought they had some good games on defense, but what do you think the pick is here?
well, here's right away with number one, which is kind of exciting this year. There's a lot of rumors and hype, and who's the pick going to be? Aiden Hutchinson was the consensus kind of number one for a while. And then there was talk about which other edge could the Jaguars be considering at this spot? Could it be Thibodeau? Could it be Walker? Anybody, right? This is one of the first years where these first 5 picks are not set in stone and are not really quarterback needy teams necessarily, because they have a guy they're already building around, or at least trying to build around. But for me, I like to say all the time, as we lead up to the draft, the smoke builds, right? The rumors fly, the smoke builds, and you got to continue to look through the smoke. So I still think the pick here is Aiden Hutchinson. I know that it could be a couple other guys, but for me, I think that's the best fit for the Texans. I think he's the best player, or for the Jaguars. Sorry, thinking about my next pick already. And I think the Jaguars are going to go with Aiden Hutchinson, the edge from Michigan, and it's the right move to make here.
All right, so you go Aiden Hutchinson. The rumor is one of many. Jaguars GM Trent Back, is it Bulky wants Trayvon Walker, but
Mm-hmm.
owner Shad Khan prefers Aiden Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like they're just stirring the pot. Who knows why they're doing that, but we'll go Aiden Hutchinson to kick it off for the Jaguars. And we're off.
Yeah, just like that. Number 2. Now it's on you, Eric. Who you taking with the number 2 overall pick now that Hutchinson is off the board here for the Lions? Are they going quarterback, or are they going some other position? I don't know. What do you think?
This Lions team's pretty interesting. I think they're changing their identity. I think they got a head coach that they want to play for. Obviously, they have a ton of holes, right? There's a reason they picked number 2. I think they have, St. Brown showed up for them on the offense. I thought they could run the ball. They drafted Sewell last year, playing mostly right tackle for them, I think. So, a couple key pieces there. It seems like they want to get big in the trenches. They want to be a physical football team. So, I'm going to pass on quarterback, although I think they will consider it. Rumors, Jeremy Fowler, Malik Willis is not off the table at number 2. Another one from Peter King, NBC. There's some buzz about the Lions being smitten with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty recent. So, I mean, Thibodeau, you've seen his name all over the place, but I think the pick certainly here is Trayvon Walker. I just like the versatility. I think he could do a lot for the defense.
I think in my final mock, I do have them taking Thibodeau. So, I mean, it could be either way, but I definitely think they save the quarterback. They have another pick, which we'll be making at the end of this draft. I think they end up with a quarterback somewhere there, and either trading up or taking one in that range. But definitely think Walker is a great pick here, even if they don't go the route of Thibodeau. But it does make it a little harder for my pick at number 3 now with Thibodeau on the board. However, I am a believer that the Texans are looking at cornerback, which again, the rumors have been going out there about the Texans and corner in which position they could go, because as we see, even if edge and edge go ahead of them, there's still going to be another edge on the board that they can take. Even if the Lions take Thibodeau, Walker would still be on the board here. Yeah, so it's a tough decision. But I do think they're going to go ahead and take who I think is the best cornerback in this class, and that is Ahmad Gardner, the cornerback out of Cincinnati. Sauce Gardner, he's going to the Texans. Best of luck to him there. I know that a lot of Bills fans wish there was a way for the Bills to get him, but I don't see us trading up this high for anybody at this point. And Sauce is going to go pretty early. So I'm taking Gardner here for the Texans.
Going Sauce Gardner. I mean, obviously the best corner in the draft. I think that's pretty universal. Stingley is in that conversation as well, but hasn't really played since 2019. So I mean, I think Sauce Gardner is a safer pick, but to me, I got to go edge, right? I think edge is a premier position. You need to get a premier player at that, and if it was me, I would go edge there. But Sauce Gardner, number 3. Let's go on to the Jets here. Back to evens.
AFC East opponent here, AFC East rival now.
Yes,
the Jets.
A lot of rumors. Deebo Samuel and could be in play for them, right?
I don't know how much I buy into that. I really don't know how much I buy into that.
You can't believe anything days before the draft, right?
No, I mean, they have 2 top 10 picks here. They have a chance to really improve their team, a growing team moving forward. I don't know that Deebo is the answer for them. They need a wide receiver, sure, but I think they should use pick 4 and 10 here and actually make it work for them and build this team in the right way moving forward. Of course, me being a Bills fan, I hope they screw it up wildly and it doesn't work out for them. But I just don't see that happening. I don't see them trading, and I think they should keep these 2 picks.
There's 2 directions they can go, in my opinion. That's to add to this offensive line. The value is right for this pick at 4, right? Evan Neal seems like a good player for them, but you take Mekhi Becton last season, you could have the best, possibly the best left and right tackles in the draft, right? Or in the NFL, right? One day you take 2 high picks that could definitely be in play. Helps out the quarterback. But I do think they want to get an edge player. They talked about it a lot last year. They did rebuild the offensive line last year, so I'm going to go Thibodeau for them.
Wow,
at 4.
You're not gonna consider Stingley at this position if he's still on the board. What'd we do?
Whoa.
Exited out of our mock draft. Luckily, we weren't too far in.
Sorry, my mouse is glitching here.
That's all right. Well, so you're going with Thibodeau over Stingley. I think, I would at least consider a cornerback for the Jets at this position, especially one of the top 2 guys still being on the board. Some who would consider him, the top 1 really. So we'll see how it works out for them. But I in my mock draft, I do have the Jets taking Stingley here as the best cornerback on the board. But that does change things moving in. They get an excellent pass rusher here in Thibodeau, and it makes them a better team.
I know there's a lot of question marks with Thibodeau, but that get off, that ability. I mean, can you coach somebody to be motivated? I think you can, but can you coach somebody to have that kind of explosiveness? Not really. I mean, it's a lot harder in my opinion. He comes in with a natural ability to rush the passer. I think you just can't pass on that, especially they have a lot of picks in this draft, a lot of luxury here to play with. All right, so let's go on to the New York Giants.
Yes, pick the 5. Giants at number 5. Our old friend is now the head coach over there, right? So you see their needs, at least listed here on the Draft Network, as offensive tackle, edge, safety, inside, interior offensive line, etc. I think the glaring hole here and the glaring board here is telling you that tackle, a premium position, is still on the board. The top 4 did not take a tackle. That means Evan Neal is still there, and I think the Giants have to go tackle here, start protecting their quarterback a little better, see what you really have, and, test it out for a year. If it doesn't work, you still have a great offensive tackle when you're rebuilding with a new quarterback moving forward. So I think Brian Daboll likes to take offensive players here, and especially with this first overall pick, takes probably the best offensive lineman in the draft, without a doubt, top 5 player in Evan Neal. So that's who I'm going to take for the Giants.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a good pick. Saquon Barkley there, right? Even though he's had some down years, you got to get him back up to speed. It's Daniel Jones' last chance, I would say.
Yes.
New head coach, didn't draft the guy. The GM has no connections with him, so they got to be all in and getting Daniel Jones up to speed.
Absolutely.
All right, pick 6. Move on to the Carolina Panthers. A lot of rumors with them as well. Are they interested in quarterback? I think that's the big question around the league. I mean, they're the first team that really needs a quarterback, really doesn't have any answers at quarterback. So yeah,
So much for Sam Darnold.
right? Lots of rumors for are they going to trade for Baker Mayfield? Latest rumor from Ian Rappaport is they're not expected to trade for Baker Mayfield before the draft, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So is that smoke? Maybe, but it seems like they're quarterback needy. So a lot of good up players here for them. I am going to go ahead and take Malik Willis because we see this every single year. No, we don't want a quarterback. We don't want to.
Wow.
We want nothing to do with them. We're looking at free agents. We like our guy Sam Darnold. You see this every single year, and it always comes down to quarterbacks go high. I think Malik Willis is probably the most talented quarterback in this class. I think natural running ability. I think they could work with that. It's definitely an upgrade from what they have. And if you pass on Malik Willis here, I think you could set you back. This is really your only chance to get some sort of quarterback for your organization. Without trading for someone who's washed up, right?
I do believe, they could take a quarterback. I don't think they would take him at 6. I think they would, if they're really looking quarterback, they're trying to trade down right now from this 6 pick. We're not doing trades in this draft tonight, but I think tomorrow night, this is the first spot where you could see some action here. If the Carolina Panthers play it right and they are thinking quarterback, they should try and trade down to where they think they could still take him. Because they know that there's not a lot of quarterback needy teams around them. Maybe you don't fall as far as the Saints or Steelers or some other team that maybe even Washington that could take a quarterback and take your guy, unless you like 2 or 3 of the quarterbacks. Even then, you could trade down even further. And we all know that the Bills, have a relationship with Carolina and always have a Carolina connection. So could they trade up with Carolina? Certainly, but I don't know that they trade up into the top 10. Again, when you're talking cost and value, Carolina is always a team we could deal with. Maybe they trade down to 11, 12, that range, and we could start having a conversation about, do the Bills trade back up with them, and do they trade down again? And that could really help Carolina in a lot of ways, getting some premium picks, and the Bills, if they do say, this is our guy and he's still on the board, so we're going to trade up for him. But that anyway brings us to the Giants pick at 7.
I got a couple things on that real quick.
Yeah.
Carolina, I don't think would trade back. If you're going to get a quarterback,
really,
they have no options, right? There's no options at quarterback for them. So trading back, I think nobody
ever paying Sam Darnold a lot of money still.
Yeah, but I don't think he's the guy. I think everyone agrees he's not the guy. If you're going to take a quarterback, you stay and you take him, right? The Bills trading up into 6, that's going to be way too costly. I think early teens could be somewhere to look, similar maybe to the Kansas City trade. But again, the Bills would just trade up for luxury. They got to be absolutely in love with a player, or kind of, going all in to get an impact player in the top 12 or so, right? I just don't see it yet, but we'll keep going here. All right, so on to the Giants, and you're up.
The Giants at 7 here. I think this is a very interesting pick for the Giants. Again, could be a trade down scenario for them if they're looking to get more picks and somebody wants to come up and nail maybe Stingley, who's still on the board for us here, or take a stab at one of the wide receivers still on the board, Garrett Wilson, Drake London. Could the Giants take one of those guys? I think so, for sure. And it's tough here with this board in this situation. And you can't ignore the fact that, guys like Kyle Hamilton are still on the board, and, edge is one of their primary needs. But do you take the jump down to a Jermaine Johnson, or are they looking somewhere else here? I don't think you can ignore the best player on the board in my mind right now in Stingley. If you're the Giants here, even though you might have needs at other positions, we know that they have a cornerback situation that is in flux right now, waiting to figure out the contract situation or the trade with Bradbury there. And I think Stingley would be, if he's still on the board here, he has to be the choice for me for the New York Giants. Even though they could go wide receiver. I just gave the speech about Brian Daboll, and instead of taking a wide receiver, they take a cornerback here. But I do think if they traded down and they were looking to take a wide receiver, there's a lot of wide receivers in this first round, they could trade down as well.
Yeah. If it's my pick, they're absolutely going wide receiver. offensive mind. They need, they're trying to trade a couple receivers out of. There's been rumors about Slayton. There's been rumors about Kadarius Toney getting out of New York. So I think they want to shift the scheme. It sounds like, and I think this is a chance for them to get who they want to.
Which
match
one
the
would you
team.
take for the Giants there? Wilson, London,
I
somebody
think
else?
I would take Jameson Williams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could take Jameson there. And if you're the Giants, you're thinking, all right,
Yeah.
even if he doesn't play most of the year or any of the year, we're still good with it. We got him.
I just think he's a difference maker. I mean,
big time.
The
Definitely.
Giants they need to get the old regime out. They're beat up. They're burnt out. They've had numerous coaches and numerous schemes, and it seems like a fresh start. They got two picks in the top 10, so I think now is the time to become an offensive team, right? So I think that's what I would do.
You're moving on from one of your best players in cornerback, so that's why I went that route.
Yeah,
but
this team's been trying to rebuild for 10 years.
Exactly.
They're still not there yet. So let's move on to Atlanta, pick number 8. Matt Ryan on his way out. Marcus Mariota comes in. I thought their defense played better last year, but receiver seems to be a huge hole. So it really depends which way they want to go for receiver. And I think with Kyle Pitts and Marcus Mariota, maybe running the ball, that scheme should be interesting. Arthur Smith, the coach, worked with Mariota in the past in Tennessee. I think I'm going to go Drake London for the Atlanta Falcons. I just think I like the big body. Match that with Kyle Pitts. I could see some mismatches there. So I'll take Drake London for Atlanta.
There you go. I like that pick a lot. I think, that's the direction the Falcons need to go, and the board kind of fell to them that way. They had their choice between wide receivers, and I like the pick of London. Wilson had to be in play there too, but I think Drake London is a great fit there. And again, the Giants could go wide receiver ahead of them and maybe take Wilson if they think he's the number one wide receiver. But that brings me to the Seattle Seahawks at 9 here. And I'm laughing because I feel like Seattle is always one of those teams where you have no idea what they're really going to do, despite what their needs might say. But, I'm looking at this board, and, you do see Kyle Hamilton is there, one of these top 10 players without a doubt. But I think they got to start rebuilding the right way in the trenches. And they need a tackle. They need an offensive tackle. Premium positions in the NFL, right? What do we always talk about? Edge rusher, cornerback, offensive tackles. And I think that Seattle, if they were smart, they will take the offensive tackle here. So I'm going to go with Akeem Ekwonu here.
Ekwonu, nice.
Yeah, Ekwonu.
Very nice. Yeah, I think Seattle. Everyone thinks they might go quarterback here, but I just don't think that's their style. They don't take quarterbacks high. Russell Wilson's a third-round pick. They're always going big guys, a lot like Baltimore, right? So I think if Seattle's going to get quarterback, it'd be later in the draft. Interesting if Malik Willis is on the board here, maybe they consider him. But
right, yeah. If quarterback isn't taken yet, maybe they do consider it at that spot, or again a trade down, because none of these quarterbacks I think are worthy of being taken in the top 10. But quarterback is such a premium position, and these teams are needy that they could definitely pull the trigger early.
For sure. All right, so now we're on pick 10 for the Jets. They took Thibodeau earlier with the 4th pick. So now you got to help your quarterback. I could see Kyle Hamilton on the board here, arguably the safest pick in the entire draft, right? A lot of people have said that. But you got to help your quarterback. You got to find an identity. The rumors of Deebo Samuel I don't think are true. So I'm going to go Jameson Williams here at 10.
Oh, nice.
I think he's probably the most talented receiver. The injury definitely is a little setback with draft value. But if you have a big arm quarterback like Zach Wilson, you're looking around the league going, why aren't we Kansas City? Why aren't we the Bills? Why aren't we out the LA Chargers? This certainly helps Zach Wilson take that step. You got to be all in, and you got to find a way to make him better, right? So I think they go Jameson Williams to take a chance.
All right. Yeah, I love that pick, Jameson Williams. I love it in the sense that he's a great player to pick. I don't love that he just went to the Jets because, we talked about, besides the injury, he's one of the best players in this draft, offensively especially. And he goes to the Jets, an immediate weapon, something that will improve that team. But, maybe
Oh,
they'll screw it up again because they are the Jets. They'll pick somebody not expected to go in the top 10 at
I
this
did see
position.
earlier there was a like a Photoshop of Josh Allen in a Jets jersey. I think it was in one of the Bills rooms on Facebook. Oh God, that was ugly. I don't know who did that, but man, that almost ruined my whole day.
What was it?
It was Josh Allen in a Jets jersey.
Oh,
Oh, it's
because that
terrible.
what
Yeah.
could have been, huh?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. So,
Gross. Right.
yeah.
Well, again, that's the Jets. That's our division rival. We'll see. This is shaping up to be a great draft for them. Again, if they have 2 picks in the top 10, you really can't miss unless you screw something up big time. But that brings back to me with the Washington football team
Oh,
here at
nice. I knew it was coming.
11.
It's the Commanders. I
Oh,
knew it was
that's
coming.
right.
I was
Oh, I
waiting for
did
that.
say it, didn't I? The
Yes.
Washington Commanders, they actually have a name now, although in my mind that was a terrible choice of
Yeah.
name.
Gonna unlearn, relearn again. We do this every year with this team.
They do have a number of needs. They are one of these rebuilding teams. They need offensive line, again, premium position. They need wide receiver. It's they need cornerback, which is a premium position. Not a good place to be, really. It seems like, even though they were competitive last year. Let's see who's left for the wide receivers at this point. I would probably match them. I mean, Garrett Wilson's still on the board. That's pretty impressive overall. Olave, I don't think goes quite this early. So let's go ahead. I think they do pull the trigger and take wide receiver if Garrett Wilson's still on the board. So I'm going to have them take Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver from Ohio State. The one wide receiver, the other is Olave, obviously, and
Right.
I think Wilson does go higher. I think that this is a good pick for the Washington Commanders, not football team anymore.
Yeah,
Although
they got a
technically
there's a
they are
decent
still a
squad.
football team. So
Yes, true. Not wrong. You were not wrong. But it seems like they're putting together a pretty good squad. I love their defense. I mean,
yes,
it seems like they kind of couldn't really put it all together last year, but did have some great games. I think Carson Wentz is an upgrade from last year, so I think there's things headed in the right direction, and Garrett Wilson definitely helps that.
mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go to Minnesota at pick 12, the Vikings. Um, to me, this is no brainer. They want to build defense. I think they look at Jordan Davis here at interior defensive line. I would think they would pay attention to what cornerbacks are on the board, but if Kyle Hamilton falls to 12, I don't think they can ignore that. So I'm going to go Kyle Hamilton to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, I think that is, at this point, falling to 12, one of the best players in this draft, could go as high as the top 5. I like that pick for Minnesota a lot. And that again fills a major need for them and this team in general. So that moves us on to the Texans' second pick in this draft. All of these teams with 2 picks in the top 15 is insane this year, right? There's 3 teams with 2 picks. They already
That's
took
crazy.
the cornerback in Sauce Gardner. They still have a lot of other needs. They could go edge here. They could go Jermaine Johnson, especially, again, I'm always looking at these premium positions of need. And there's a couple different directions they could go here. But I think they actually go offensive tackle. So that would bring us down to, do you do Charles Cross? Could they be looking at Trevor Penning this high? Maybe. I think I'm going to go ahead and say Cross is the pick here. I do think they go tackle over edge at this point. So we'll take Cross for the Texans at this spot.
Yeah, the Texans are a mystery to me. I don't know what's the quarterback situation look like for them. Are you really going to go with Davis Webb? Who's playing wide receiver for you? I mean, they just have so many holes, it seems like. Do have Laramie Tunsil there. Do have Titus Howard, who they drafted a few years back. So, yeah, adding to the offensive line is a good place to start. A lot of people say Charles Cross is a top 10 pick as well. So this is a little slip for him. So, all right, let's move on to Baltimore. Doing mocks with Baltimore is relatively easy. They only take cornerbacks and edge players. So I think they make a splash here. I think they take a hard look at Jermaine Johnson. Obviously, this is a little slip for him as well. But Jordan Davis, it seems like a special talent. I think Baltimore would drool over that. They did lose their defensive coordinator, heads over to the Giants. So a little fresh eyes in there. But I think like they want to do, they want to build the trenches. So I go Jordan Davis to Baltimore. I just think it's too good to pass up for them. It fits them exactly the way they want to be, the way they want to build a team. He fits into that exactly.
Interesting, because I've seen a lot of people picking Zion Johnson for Baltimore in this spot because interior offensive line is a need for them, and Zion Johnson is, just a bruising football player and certainly a good get at his position, one of the best players still on the board here. As we transition now to 15 and the Philadelphia Eagles, yeah, this board right now is falling in a favor where if you're the Eagles, you're happy about it in a positive way. You have 2 picks in the next few picks here, 4 picks. And there's a lot of people I like on the board. So I guess it's in this case a matter of which direction do you go first. I think obviously wide receiver is a need for them, edge, cornerback. These premium positions, they're not going to stick around for a lot of this draft. So I think the best edge on the board is still there in Jermaine Johnson. I think you got to take them if you're the Eagles here. That's a premium position of need for you. They could go cornerback as well, but I think edge is the answer here with this first pick, definitely. So they take Jermaine Johnson.
Another interesting pick here because you get 2 picks in the top 20. I really don't know what direction the Eagles are trying to build this team. It seems like they got these picks to get a quarterback, and then no quarterbacks are in this draft. So maybe backfired a little bit, but then Jalen Hurts played really well, so he deserves another year, right? So I think that you build defense. Do you build the trenches? Do you get faster? I mean, the Eagles could really go any direction.
Offensive tackle, you could go with build in the trenches. You could, wide receiver. I mean, it's a mystery what the Eagles are doing, but they do have these 2 picks.
For sure. All right, so that's back to me for the New Orleans Saints. Man, I don't know again if they're gonna try to go quarterback. Obviously, Desmond Ritter's there. Kenny Pickett's probably comes to mind for them. So a lot of needs for this team. Definitely in a full rebuild. New coach. I think to start out, I'm going to go Trevor Penning, tackle, Northern Iowa. I just think to build a foundational piece, you do have another pick here in a couple at 19. So I think that's a good spot to start for them. Get the lines figured out. I think they can do a lot with Jameis Winston. Got to find a weapon as well somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I love that pick, especially looking at the team behind you, right? Because if the Saints don't pick Trevor Penning here, I think absolutely the Chargers do it with their next pick. And the Chargers are probably pretty upset right now because they lost 3 picks that they could potentially take right in 14, 15, and 16 ahead of them in Jordan Davis, Jermaine Johnson, and Trevor Penning, 3 different positions, all guys that they would have to be looking at. And just seeing how this board has fallen, this is not the way I've worked it out in recent drafts. I think I have them taking one of those 3 players or, similar position types at this pick. But the Chargers now find themselves in a situation where, okay, if we were originally thinking tackle or interior defensive line, which direction do we go now? Could they take one of the linebackers on the board? Certainly. You do see edge as another need, and edge players are premium. So, the next best edge on the board could be there for the taking. But with this board falling the way it did, I think that they could go interior defensive line and take Devontae Wyatt here if this is how it works out. Certainly, again, this is a unique pick for me for the Chargers in this spot, but I like the fit. I think it would be, the best player pick in this position to improve that team right now.
Yeah, Devontae Wyatt, great pick. There's rumors. Jordan Schultz of NFL Game Day says the Chargers would love to add a wide receiver in the 2022 NFL Draft.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
there's better picks later, though. Even the Bills
that
know
rumor,
that, right?
That rumor says nothing.
Yeah. Everybody wants.
Yeah, everyone wants to add at least one in every draft, right? So anyway, back to Philadelphia. They take Jermaine Johnson at 15. Now we're on 18. Again, which way do they want to go? They could build in a lot of different directions. I could see Chris Olave here. I thought they had pretty good success with Devontae Smith and Rager last year. So I think they wait on receiver. I think they're going to go
Wow.
cornerback, Trent McDuffie.
Okay.
Um, just
Building the
think he has a lot of
defense.
speed, build the defense up. I think corner fills a big hole for them. And I think McDuffie's another safe player. He seems to be going around the 15 to 20 range throughout all mocks. But yeah, I think
Right.
he's a good safe pick. Uh, you make the most out of your pick at 18.
Sure, I definitely think this is a good pick for them. They get the edge, they get the cornerback. Certainly ending up pretty well for them in this draft. But to not go offensive player, yeah, might be a little surprising for some. But they just improved their football team in a big way as well. And that brings me to the New Orleans Saints' second pick of this draft. They went with Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle. And this is the position where, in a ton of mocks, I've seen the Bills getting Chris Olave, and I've consistently said I would love to get Chris Olave, but I don't think he's going to be on the board. And I think this is the team that takes him. I think the New Orleans Saints, now looking at this board, says, Olave is somebody who could be that guy for us, right? The number 2 next to our big name wide receiver, just like the Bills are thinking, right? So Olave makes a lot of sense for me here for the Saints, even though they could look, quarterback again. Could they take one here? Yes. They made the weird trade with Philly. But I don't know, if they have something else in mind. For me, I think the smart thing would be to take Chris Olave here, and I don't think he makes it to the Bills.
All right. Yeah. I think he's a good pick for them. Adds a weapon, right? Adds some more dynamic weapons to that offense. Let's move on to Pittsburgh. Quarterback seems to be the number one need. I do have Mitch Trubisky there. Do you think he can, become a consistent starter? It's a lot of question marks there. I think they brought him in as a bridge. So now the question is, I know they love Malik Willis. There's been lots of rumors out there about that. He's off the board. He went 6 to Carolina. So now we look at Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, or do you go edge, or Zion Johnson seems to fit their mold. I think it's 2 quarterbacks available here for
Yeah.
the first round grade. I think you do take one, and I'm going to go Desmond Ridder just because I think the arm strength's a little more.
Sure.
I think the mobility is just a little more, and I think when they compare them, they'll ultimately end up with Desmond Ridder.
Sure. And it wouldn't surprise anybody if they went Kenny Pickett or
Right.
if one of the other quarterbacks is still on the board. But I do think that this is a good spot for the Steelers to take a quarterback in this draft, especially if, the one they like the most is still there. And the way the board fell too, it just completely worked out for them that that's the board and he fell to them and it works out. Could they also trade down? Yes, anybody who's looking quarterback could probably trade down and still get their guy. But you risk that some other team could end up making that same kind of move and getting your guy before you do. So I like it here in this 20 range for the Steelers. Don't think it makes them any more competitive this season for sure. But moving forward, he could be a guy that they work in to try and become the answer long term now that Big Ben is retired. And that brings us to pick number 22, the Green Bay Packers. Oh, wait, there is a pick in between. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. The ridiculous New England Patriots at pick number 21. I think they will draft a punter out of LSU or some college, Yeah, no, I mean, the Patriots certainly have not had luck in the draft as of late with head coach, GM, assistant GM, and everything else, Bill Belichick, right? But this board has fallen in a way that I think is very favorable to them right now. Linebacker is one of their biggest needs. Both big name linebackers are out there. If I had to take a linebacker for them, I think Devin Lloyd would be a good fit. But you see that both Kenyon Green and you switched the board on me here, but the
Zion Johnson.
Johnson is the other interior offensive lineman. If he's still here at 21, I would be shocked if Zion Johnson is still on the board. But again, this is the way the board has worked out. So I think they have to take Zion Johnson, even though they might really like, either Devin Lloyd or some other linebacker, Nakobe Dean, maybe. I think Lloyd is a better fit for the Patriots, but I'm going to go Zion Johnson for the Patriots.
Guard goes to 21. Okay. All right, so now we're on to Green Bay at pick 22. Maybe this is a spot the Bills look to trade up. Got to find a partner, right? Obviously, probably can't trade with the Patriots, even though crazier things have happened. Any players on the board you recognize the Bills might want to trade up for?
Yeah, I mean, there was times where they could have traded up. It depends on, the position they're looking at. We saw Trent McDuffie go at 18. So if they're thinking a team's going to take a cornerback, and they want, Andrew Booth, or, maybe it's McDuffie or whatever cornerback you are thinking they're going to pick at this point, they would have to get within that range. And I think that is the sweet spot, the 15 to 20 range that they could potentially afford to trade up and make a move to get the guy that they want. But the board is falling pretty favorably still right now for the Buffalo Bills, with the quarterbacks that have gone off the board that, may not in tomorrow night's draft, the actual draft. And so at this point, what would they have traded up for an Olave? Probably not. A Trent McDuffie? I'm not guessing so, with the way the board has worked out. A Zion Johnson? No, because I think Green is also a good pick, and he's still there if guard was really the position that they desired. Elam is still on the board as well. So there's a lot that could still fall to the Buffalo Bills at 25. So I think if this is how the draft goes tomorrow night, they're sitting pretty, saying, okay, we're in good shape. We don't need to trade up. We'll see who's still on the board with us, and we'll consider our options when it comes to it.
All right, so we're back to Green Bay, pick 22. Obviously, Devontae Adams leaving is a huge blow for them. Do have another pick at 28. Is it Zadarius Smith left? Preston Smith stayed, correct? I think I got that right. So I'm going to go with George Karlaftis.
Yes.
At edge. I just think there's some receivers, the depth's better later on, but edge, I think to get a premier player, you got to pick right now. So Karlaftis to the Green Bay at 22.
I like that pick a lot. I do think it's a need for them. Will Green Bay fans or Aaron Rodgers throw another fit because they're picking defensive players
Also,
yet
this
again
is what
in
they
the first
do,
round?
right?
But this is, again, they're smart about building their football team and know how to do it, right? So they build through the trenches. This is a good way to do that. Build up at a premium position like edge, make your team better overall, and let Aaron Rodgers do his thing. So I like that move for Green Bay. I think I have that in my actual predictive first round mock, him going right there to Green Bay. But that brings us to a team that could go in a lot of different directions here at 23, the Cardinals. And here I think, believe it or not, so if you're looking at the board again, cornerback, edge, wide receiver, running back, interior offensive line are listed as their top needs. The way this board has fallen, I really like this matchup for some reason. Maybe it's because they just lost Christian Kirk, but I think they picked Treylon Burks here, who I actually like in this draft. I think he's a versatile wide receiver, somebody who loves to get yards after catch, beast mode kind of when he has the ball, because he's a bigger dude and he can do a lot of things with it. I like Treylon Burks here to Arizona. I think, he could fill that role and be a good weapon in that offense, presuming that they keep Kyler Murray at quarterback, of course. But yes, I like that pick.
Picked up
Did
his
they?
option today, yes. Yep.
Well, he's not happy with, he wants to do a long-term deal where, the ones that
Right.
everybody else
He's got
is
at least
getting
1
around the
year,
league.
right? Didn't get
Yeah.
the long-term deal, but I'm sure that's coming for him. All right, so now we're on to Dallas, which I've done many of these mocks, and I've taken Treylon Burks here. So you've gone ahead and swiped that from me. So looking at this team, they want an edge player, I would say. Obviously, some holes at safety and receiver.
Daxton Hill's still on the board too.
Daxton Hill, very intriguing
much
pick. I'm looking at David Ajavo, who was originally a top 10 guy, top 15 guy, gets injured. So now he's fallen there. But I think the value matches with Daxton Hill. So I'm going to go ahead and take the safety. Did a lot of creative things with Micah Parsons last year. So I think continuing to build that defense.
Yeah, another really good fit for the team he's going to. I think Daxton Hill to Dallas makes a lot of sense in what they like to do and the way he can be a versatile player in that kind of defense. So that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to the Buffalo Bills pick at number 25 overall. And tonight we have a lot to choose from. I am really liking how this board fell to us right now. You've seen at the top of the board uh, Andrew Booth, who I really love. That is my predicted pick for the Bills and somebody I really like as a fit for the Buffalo Bills. Kenyon Green is there, certainly offensive line, a position of need. Um, Linebacker, they could do something crazy and go linebacker if both Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean are on the board. But I like it if those guys end up falling a little bit out of the first round. Nakobe Dean, as many of you know, has heard me on this show. His tape, I just love him as a football player and would love for him to find his way to Buffalo. Wide receiver at this point, I think a lot of the guys that have been predicted for the Bills to pick are off the board here. Bottom line, Kaiir Elam is still on the board as well at cornerback. They could go in that direction. I mean, this is like an ideal situation for the Buffalo Bills. We're not even talking about the position that shall not be named, right? I'm not even talking about that because these players that are quality players and I think are better fits are there on the board. And this is why all along I've said I don't think the Bills are taking running back in round one because there's just too many good players available. Not that Breece Hall isn't a good player at 25 or whatever, but that's not who I'm picking here. And there's just too much on the bone here when it comes to the needs for the Buffalo Bills. I have to go Andrew Booth. He's my predictive pick for the Bills. I'm sticking to my guns. Kaiir Elam would be a good fit. Kenyon Green would be a good pick here as well. But I'm definitely going Andrew Booth Jr. I know you're going to want to have some input on this
For
one.
sure. For sure. Yeah. I think you got to consider, adding to the offense. You have a special quarterback. The window is, you have 10 years, right? So you got to try to win a Super Bowl every single year now, right? So you might take a reach on a couple players. And I think Breece Hall is absolutely in play here at 25, right? I love Christian Watson out of North Dakota State, 6'5" and athletic. I mean, DK Metcalf type athleticism. Just his ability is rare, very rare. I mean, he went to the Senior Bowl and he still made people look silly. So I'm not worried about that talent gap. I would absolutely consider him here for the Bills as well because he does add another element to the offense, right? That's the type of players you should be looking for, in my opinion. Bringing Mike Shula in to assist Ken Dorsey on the offensive side, to me, that screams running game, that screams balance. And I don't think the Bills are really balanced, right? I mean, the running game, I think, could improve. You bring in Roger Saffold from Tennessee, that screams running game to me. So I think Breece Hall is absolutely in play. And especially with his pass catching ability out of the backfield. That would be a nightmare for defenses, right? You can't play back now. It's similar to the Kansas City when they took the running back out of LSU, Edwards-Helaire. Teams were playing way back, right? They're guarding Tyreek Hill. They're playing way off, so they just simply hand it off, and it was a nightmare for defenses. I think the Bills are in a similar situation, and I think they should actually consider a lot of those things. Wouldn't be upset about corner here. However, as I mentioned to you earlier, Dane Jackson, 7th-round pick, Levi Wallace, undrafted. These guys played CB2 in the best defense in the league last year, right? So I think they can find a cornerback later that can do the things that he's asked to do at CB2. I think the safeties help that position out a lot. But so I'd go offensive weapon here for sure.
Yeah.
And Watson or Hall for me.
Really, my most ideal situation is a trade down to pick up an early 2nd-round pick. And excuse me. There's some big names on the board. You mentioned Ojabi, who is injured and would have been a top 10 pick in this draft. Excuse me, something in my throat here. If he was healthy, now falling to this position, I think this is a premium spot for one of those teams that is still rebuilding to say we can invest in this guy who would have been a top 5 pick any other time. When he's healthy, he's that kind of player and that kind of difference maker. It's right for us to try and invest in that player rather than teams that are trying to compete now, like Dallas and even Arizona or Green Bay. All the teams picking in this range are really teams trying to compete now. So one of those early 2nd-round pick teams could trade up here with the Buffalo Bills and say, we want to get one of those guys for us,
Right.
especially at a premium position like edge, and say, we're stashing him to be that player for us in the future. But yeah, I still, I
Yeah, it's
cannot
something
bring
to
myself.
consider, and this is stuff Brandon Beane would consider. Look who's behind you in the draft. 2
Mhm.
Kansas City picks,
Yes.
Green Bay, I think they play Green Bay this year, Tampa Bay, and Tennessee. All teams you face. I'm not sure about Tampa Bay, but I know the other teams they face this year. So, I mean, if you don't go up to offensive weapon here, they get those weapons. There's only so many guys who can make an impact,
Mhm.
in early in their rookie season. So I absolutely go all in on a weapon at this point.
And yeah, we
Um,
can't ignore that there are some injury concerns around Andrew Booth Jr. And Devin Lloyd and apparently Nakobe Dean. All these guys have some questions floating. Will they really fall in the draft? We don't know. But I think Booth is the guy here. And if you don't like Booth or Elam, you can trade down or find a way to add him in the second round as he's falling. Watson is not a bad pick here. I think that he's an underrated player. But I'm
I've seen
going,
him all over the place. I think Mel Kiper had
yeah,
him at 20 with
in
Green
like the
Bay,
third round
22.
sometimes. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think he goes that late. I wouldn't mind taking
No,
him here, actually.
I think
I'm
he might be a first round
all
guy. Can
for
we
adding a
take
wide
him? Can
receiver,
we
a
take
weapon
him?
like that. In this draft, no, Andrew Booth is on the board. That's my predictive pick to the
Yes,
Bills.
I gave you the
I've
pick
got to
too.
take him. I've got to take him. You gave me the odds. So, I've got to take the guy I think is there. Even if for some reason the Bills do have an injury flag on him and they go wide receiver, I would absolutely love the Watson pick here, but not with Booth still on the board, presuming that he passed his physical test with the Bills and their front office. And we know
All right.
that the Bills staff and health and advising and their ability to keep guys healthy and bring them to play their best to their ability keeps me confident that if they liked Booth, they would draft him.
Yeah. I just got one more thing I got to look up for Watson here.
Taking one more stat out of the books here.
Yeah, I remember it from earlier. I was just messing around with it.
Is
Right
it?
here,
There's
right
a
here.
lot here.
It's measurables, right? Off the
Yeah.
charts, right? 91 percentile in hand size, 97 percentile in 10-yard split, 91 percentile in 40-yard dash, 84 percentile in vertical jump, 98th percentile in broad jump,
We
and
know they like
94
physical guys.
percentile in height. Right, he's a little small on the smaller side, 64% in weight, arm length 64%. But I mean, the guy's 6'5" and super
All
fast.
day.
They just
I
don't
would
make
love
guys
that
like
pick.
that. So
Exactly. And
yeah,
he's an athletic guy. Definitely a type of the Bills, the player we've seen McDermott and Bean draft, right? Physical traits, looks like the part on the field. He's not one of these guys who's just big and can't play. I really like him. I don't like Dotson actually here. I don't like Jahan Dotson for the Bills. He's not one of my favorite receivers in this draft. I don't like the way he catches the ball. Something about his hands and the way he moves the ball around and the way he catches the ball. I can't do it. So again, I'm sticking to my guns and saying cornerback Andrew Booth Jr. And hoping that
all
the
right,
Bills find a way in that second round to address
yeah,
some of the other
boring.
needs. There are other picks in rounds 3 and 4 at wide receiver that I think can really help this team right here, right now, this season. So I don't know that I would necessarily pull the trigger
And I'm okay if the
with wide
Bills want
receiver.
to jump back up into the second, but I just don't
Yes.
think you're going to let one of these teams take a weapon. I just don't like that. All right, so let's move on to 26 Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee, I think they'd love to have a linebacker here. It's just, do you go Nakobe Dean? Do they need the inside type linebacker? Do you need the outside linebacker? I'm going to go Devin Lloyd for Tennessee. Seen a lot of drafts where these, the top 3 linebackers are gone at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of talent that pushes. In this scenario, we have all 3, right? We have Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, and the other Georgia, Quay Walker.
Yes, yeah, he's still on the board.
Yep.
Predicted another guy who's moved around a lot.
Another guy who I've seen, some of the people put him in the first round as well. So you're up with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think this is now an easy pick as well. I think the Bills could have gone with Kenyon Green, as I mentioned, but you're Tampa Bay and you're thinking As long as Tom Brady is playing at quarterback, we need to do, what we can to protect him and make him play at his best. So I think picking Kenyon Green here is a great move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and helps them take that next step toward keeping Tom Brady playing at his best ability, even at his age at this point.
Right. This is a huge fall for him as well.
Yes.
I just think, a lot of teams are going to the model of you can find a guard somewhere, right? You don't have to spend a lot of capital on guards, but I think the two guards in their projected first round are good players, and I think a guard needy team will definitely take them early. All right, so I'm back up with Green Bay. They got the edge player. Now we're at wide receiver. And I mean, tackles in play here. There's rumors they might trade for Darren Waller. That was kind of weird. Do you see what you did?
Yeah,
Green Bay is going to take Watson here. Christian Watson, North Dakota State.
That's a threat.
Anthony
for them,
just
certainly.
gave it to them. And I'm glad they went,
How you gonna blame
Green
me,
Bay,
man?
because I was going to give them to Kansas City, but
I'll take him to Green Bay rather than Kansas City.
Yeah, so Christian Watson, I think huge talent for Green Bay to fill some of that Devontae Adams gap, right? There's a lot to fill there. Watson won't do that himself, but he's definitely a dynamic playmaker, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, there is this draft is falling very interestingly, especially after the Bills pick here. Devin Lloyd, Kenyon Green, Christian Watson, all guys who could go way higher than this, by the way. And that's how the NFL draft goes, especially this year. It's going to be so much fun tomorrow night covering the real draft, because you talk about those guys, they could all be in the top 15 picks, and it would not surprise me. And here they are at 28, and now at 29, we have the Kansas City Chiefs picking back-to-back picks here, and I think their needs are obvious, right? The top of the chart says it all. They need wide receiver, they need cornerback, and I think that's what they do in these back-to-back picks. So whichever one I pick, I would assume that Eric is going to pick the opposite here. So I think I'm going to go with the cornerback. Kaiir Elam is still on the board. I've been preaching about premium positions. He's still there. It makes sense for them. They improve that position. They take him. The biggest fear for me is that Kansas City finds a way to use these 2 first-round picks, back-to-back picks, to trade up and get Jameson Williams, the best wide receiver in this draft, a weapon that can be dynamic for them moving forward with Patrick Mahomes. Granted, it would be a long-term play rather than a kind of week 1 play, but still something that they are probably considering.
Yeah, so this kind of puts Kansas City in a tough spot, but really getting rid of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
It's still so hard to believe. Like I have this weird feeling that the whole thing collapses, but I mean, I know Travis Kelce's a hell of a player, but I mean, that extra distraction or, focus that you need to put on Tyreek Hill is now gone. I think you can put all your focus on Travis Kelce. So they got to find a way to get some of that off Travis Kelce. And I think the best way to do that in the position they're in our mock draft is to take Sky Moore at 30.
Really? Okay.
I think it's a little different. You're not going to blow top off, obviously, but those short underneath routes, pair that up with Travis Kelce on the other side. I just think it's unique. And in this position, I think that's somebody that they're going to want to grab early.
Interesting pick there. Okay, Sky Moore, not the wide receiver I thought you were going to pick for Kansas City in that position, but
you thought Dotson?
Yeah, I thought Dotson was going to be the pick there.
Yeah, I like Dotson. Just a little I don't really like his he's undersized for his height.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sky
not
Moore
one of my
smooth,
favorites either. So
a different type of receiver, obviously, but I think they have to get creative, and I think Sky Moore can deliver that creativity.
So we've only got 2 picks left in this first round, and there is a lot of guys on this list. There are a lot of guys on this list who could still be first-round picks. However, with the Bengals, I think their need, and looking at this board, the pick is easy for me. Looking at where guys are, interior offensive line continues to be a need for them, and Tyler Linderbaum is still on the board here. Another guy who could go way higher in this draft, and it wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to pick Tyler Linderbaum to the Bengals at 31.
Yeah, filling a need there. Definitely corner secondary is another huge need there. All right, 32. Here we go. Mock done in 1 hour. Nice job, Anthony. That was
There
our
we
plan.
go. That's
Nailed it. A couple things to point out before we get out of here. I think the pick will definitely be Kenny Pickett at this point.
Yes.
I think that's a luxury
Quarterback makes sense.
for Detroit. They do have another pick and just the early in the second. So
You get that 5th-year option with the quarterback right at the end of the first round. So
for sure. Quay Walker, David Ajabo, those are definitely some options that can go earlier. Obviously, Nakobe Dean for that inside linebacker piece. If there is a team that's willing to take running back, Breece Hall's I think the clear-cut number one as far as rankings. A lot of people are high on Travis Jones. He could maybe slip into the first, right?
I mean, yeah, it's tough because that means one of these guys we didn't pick is now on this list, and we're thinking, wow, how did they make it here? But yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah.
And we're obviously didn't do any trades in this draft, any trade scenarios, but the moving around can change things up too.
I think the league, the GMs, at least in the AFC, watched the Mahomes Allen game, right? The divisional round playoff game, and they said, we cannot compete with that. So I think you're going to see a lot of receivers go early. I think you're going to see weapons go way earlier than they normally would, right? I think the perspective is changing, right? The quarterbacks are aplenty in the AFC, and you're going to have to go shot for shot to win a lot of those games, especially in the AFC West. That is going to be so fun to watch. So I think you'll see some of that, right? I think it's edge, getting after the quarterback, and receiver are going to be the popular positions in this
Definitely.
draft.
How many receivers did we take? I mean, at least 6, right? So let's go back through, I guess,
Quick
our
review.
first one. Drake London was off the board.
We got Hutchinson, 8. Walker, 1, 2, Gardner, 3, Thibodeau, 4, Evan Neal goes 5, Malik Willis, 6 to Carolina, Stingley, 7, Drake London's number 1 for receivers, but he goes 8 to Atlanta. Ekwonu, number 9 to Seattle. Jamison Williams, number 2 receiver. Garrett Wilson to the Commanders at 11. That's number 3. We got Kyle Hamilton, Charles Cross, Jordan Davis to Baltimore. 15, Jermaine Johnson to the Eagles. Trevor Penning to the Saints at 16. Devontae Wyatt to the LA Chargers at 17. Trent McDuffie, cornerback to the Philadelphia Eagles at 18. Chris Olave, number 4 receiver at 19 for the Saints. Desmond Ridder goes 20 to Pittsburgh, sits behind Mitch Trubisky there. The New England Patriots, Zion Johnson at 21, guard out of Boston College. Green Bay takes George Karlaftis, edge, Purdue. Here's number 5 receiver, the Arizona Cardinals and Treylon Burks. Number 24, Daxton Hill to Dallas, safety. Would have took receiver here, but Anthony wouldn't let me. So Andrew Booth, cornerback, Clemson to the Bills. Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. Kenyon Green, offensive lineman, guard to Tampa Bay. Christian Watson, number 5 receiver. North Dakota State goes to Green Bay. Kaiir Elam is Kansas City's first pick at 29. Sky Moore, number 6 receiver at pick 30. 31, Tyler Lindenbaum to the Bengals. And we are going to take Kenny Pickett at 32 for Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, again, interesting
6 receivers.
Yeah, 6? Was there 6? Yeah, I guess 6. And that is, one shy of a record, I think. So a lot of wide receivers, but worthy, definitely. And we saw the premium positions. Edge at the top of the draft there went fast. Offensive linemen, always going to go. Wide receivers, even though there's a lot of talent on the board still, if the Bills were to trade down from that 25 pick, that I would be happy for them to get. There's a lot of different directions that we'll see play out tomorrow night. And I want to preface that, sure, the Bills could consider taking a running back in round 1. We just saw and considered it. Am I going to be angry if the Bills pick Breece Hall with the 25th pick? No, I am going to cheer as much as anybody else and hope that he is the best running back that ever played in Buffalo and, becomes the best player that he could possibly ever be and surpasses everybody's expectations and criticisms of him. However, If he doesn't, that's where you have a problem. You've passed on all of these other guys and said that we think this guy can be that difference maker for our team, and invest that much to say he's going to be the one to get us over the hump. Well, I don't think personally that the running game is going to be what gets us over the hump and into the Super Bowl. I think there's a lot of other things we can do to improve this team all the way around, starting with offensive linemen, which it can improve the running game and, improve Josh Allen,
I
protecting
guess it
Josh
comes
Allen.
down to how much do you believe in Duke Johnson as a number 2 running back?
Yes, and this is a position they could still upgrade. It doesn't mean you have to take a player now and not in the 5th round. Now, is Breece Hall a better player than any running back you're going to take in the 5th round? Obviously. And if he's still there in 2, could they possibly trade up and get him? Maybe. I don't like that scenario either, personally, trading up for a running back in the 2nd round. But, there's a lot of questions around it, and that's why I don't like it as much.
I think Duke Johnson catches the ball out of the backfield. They try to get J.D. McKissick.
We saw the improvement from
you can see
Singletary.
between the lines they want a running back that can catch out of the backfield, probably better than Singletary, right? They're trying to upgrade that, it seems like. Breece Hall delivers that to you. He's very good at catching the ball out of the backfield, and he gets upfield fast, right? It's an added element that I don't think you can get with a lot of the other running backs. I think Isaiah Spiller is another intriguing option. If you are going to go in the 2nd round, if you're going to stay put in the 2nd round,
sure.
I expect
Spiller
3
running backs. I expect
I think
3
you do
running
by
backs
committee.
in the 2nd round.
You do by committee. But Breece Hall, if you're trying to overhaul the position, I think Breece Hall's the most ready. Pass blocking's there. We watched the film, right?
We did, yeah.
Walker, I like Walker as a runner, but not so much
cannot
pass. But his pass blocking needs a lot of work.
Bad. It's real bad.
At least from what we saw.
He was, my favorite runner.
You can coach him into it for sure, but Breece Hall's ready to go, right? So I like, and you look at Mike Shula, like I've talked about, who comes in as the senior offensive assistant under Ken Dorsey, who's your first-year offensive coordinator.
Sure.
These guys were together in Carolina. Mike Shula was under Pat Shurmur with the Giants. He's in with Pat Shurmur in Denver.
Right.
And they always had 2 running backs. I mean, maybe the Giants, had
we signed
Saquon Barkley and company. But,
and we have Devin Singletary.
I'm just not sure if I like Singletary as a running back, but if we're going to overhaul the position and we want to be a more balanced team, I do think you need an upgrade.
By the way, you brought up all these new coaches. Who's the head coach?
Well, Sean McDermott, but that's
Sean McDermott. What position is
fine?
What position is Sean McDermott? Love cornerback.
Positions.
Now they haven't drafted. Yeah, well, I mean,
state champion wrestler.
He originally started as defensive backs and defensive coach. He is a defensive-minded coach, and that's why I think ultimately I went cornerback there. It is a position of need this year, more so than in other years. Maybe they do believe in Dane Jackson, but it's still, you got to get better. You got to improve. You got to do what you got to do. Wide receiver would make me happy in round 1. Certainly, if one of those guys falls to us, or if they pick Watson where I picked Booth, I would not complain about that one bit. I think that'd be a great pickup. It helps Josh Allen. It's the right way to go. But we can do that in later rounds as well. Again, there's a lot of wide receivers I like in round 3 or round 4 that I think can contribute on day 1 for this team, versus a position like cornerback, where while there are or might be some guys in later rounds, they're not going to be as good of a fit as some of these guys in round 1.
Yeah, I think you can consider like a guy like David Ajabu too, with Jerry Hughes. How much is left in the tank, but they spent a lot of draft picks on building the defensive line, and you expect results. You bring in Von Miller, right? I'm interested to see how Epinesa and drawing a blank, Miami picked him last year, first round.
Yeah. Rousseau, Gregory Rousseau.
Yeah, Greg Rousseau.
Yes.
Just seeing how they jump this offseason. I know we said that about Epinesa last season, but Rousseau, I'm really interested to see how he handles this offseason and see if he contributes in the rotation next year.
Yeah, just some.
If you want to mention Shaq Lawson, fine, but they got a lot of depth, I feel like, at the defensive line.
Definitely. And interior defensive line still could be an option because some of those guys we signed are only on 1 or 2 year deals. So you want to have some consistency, especially if you're looking at, we're going to keep Oliver long term and we want to know who's next to him, you could draft a guy to come in and be that guy. That would not surprise me either. I don't think it's as big of a need necessarily, but if one of the big guys falls in the second round and they're like, hey, he was the best player on the board, so we took him, it wouldn't surprise me if they went there. Guard is a definite need. I've seen a lot of Bills fans talking about how, oh, I'd be shocked if they picked a guard in round 1 or in round 2. If one of these guards falls, guard is a position of need on this team. I know we signed Roger Saffold to a 1-year deal, and we don't know what he's going to be. He's had injury concerns. If he does get injured, who's coming in behind him? Cody Ford? I'm not confident in that. No, thank you very much. I don't care who the offensive line coach is at this point. I'm not comfortable with that. I'd much rather have consistency, a guy who doesn't have to be your day one starter, but can compete for reps, be the depth guy, and then be ready next year should we go in a different direction and Saffold no longer be on the team since he's only under a 1-year deal. So guard is definitely a need, could be taken in round 1 if it falls right, would not surprise me.
Yeah. No,
if
not a lot of people
Zion's
have
still on the
mentioned
board.
that. Yeah, that's a great point. Just because we signed Saffold doesn't mean it's still a need.
Yes.
Feliciano out, Cody Ford likely out after this year. So yeah, that you want to get some stability there. I think you take one of the top guards, right? Somebody who can be there for the next 5 seasons. All right, so last thing, going all in, putting $100 down. Who's the pick? No more mock world.
Yeah.
Not a mock world. Who's the Bills pick tomorrow?
Again, everything I've chosen at this point, I've stuck to my guns and said Booth. With the injury concern, I might be reluctant to put $100 down on it, but I would say cornerback. Maybe it's Elam. Maybe it's McDuffie if he's still there and they really like him. But of those 3, I think Booth is the one that fits best for the Bills in my mind and who I think they will pick ultimately if he's still on the board. Again, they could be gone, but I think cornerback is the position that I would most bet on in round 1.
What about in the chat? What's everybody got? Who's the pick tomorrow? If you had to put money down, who is
right
it?
now at 25, the Bills
Ronald says not
pick
Elam.
is
not
how
Elam.
many say, how many are we going to see Breece Hall, right? That's the big question. Do they pick Hall? The way this board fell, I don't know that there are many people who would still think Breece Hall with the way the board fell for us.
Right. 2 running backs went round 1 last year. I think they're both they would be ranked higher than Hall this year, I would say. But yeah, I'm going to go Christian Watson as my player. I just think, like I said, you look behind you, Tennessee, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, 2 Kansas City picks. You got to get those special athletes at receiver. I think you got to get them on this team with Josh Allen, right? I think Watson adds a new element to the offense, so he's my guy for the Bills. Here you go.
Use my money to bet on Breece Hall, huh? I don't think so. Although right now there was an interesting odds shift in Vegas to the Bills. I think it's like number 1 choice is running back. The number 1 bet, or the bet you would make the least money on, if you will, is running back. The highest percentage chance that Vegas thinks is the Bills go running back right now. I am probably going to put my money down at cornerback.
Yeah. You also,
that, at least.
The Bills have had 1 draft rumor this year, and it's that they like Bryce Hall. I'm not believing that for a second.
I guess that is the rumor, the smoke. It reminds me a lot of last year, building up with ETN, and obviously he was gone before the Bills were ever on the board. But I think, again, that might have been the Bills' plan, right? We want the running backs to get picked ahead of us so that other talent falls, right? And those were 2 guys last year in Najee Harris and Travis Etienne that were worthy of going ahead. Whereas Breece Hall, to me, he's not at that level even. And even though he's getting a lot of love and he has a lot of potential, and I've heard every comparison in the book from Jonathan Taylor to every star you could name, that makes me nervous. Like, I don't see that when I watch his film. And I know I'm not an expert film breakdown person to break down film, but I still
can't be good at everything.
Concerns.
Can't be good at gambling and film breakdown.
That's right.
You know what I'm
saying? I'm not.
So let's read a couple of these. Bryce Hall, Christian Watson. We got Kyle Hamilton in the chat.
Oof,
I wish.
Man, that would be huge.
That would be huge. Would be nice if we get a trade up for McDuffie. Good win-win deal for both. Wouldn't be mad with Hall, I guess. Booth Jr. Brees Hall here with Jason Taylor. We already read that. Zion, trade up for the best cornerback we can get, and then Gordon or Booth.
Man, if Zion's still on the board, that would
Punt
be,
God sneaks
that
in
would be
there.
beautiful. First
Matt
round pick.
Ariza.
Let's go.
Ariza. Punt God. Yeah, hey.
You never know.
In the fourth, take him in the fourth.
New England might take him ahead of us. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's a good one. Trade Poyer for Kyle Hamilton. Trade Edmonds for Sauce. Trade Epinesa for a box of pizza. The problem with that, Pave Dave, is draft picks are 50%.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That sounds like a loss.
Trade definite what you have in Poyer and Edmonds for absolute mystery in the guys you're picking up. No thanks. No thanks twice to that one.
Anyway, everybody, have fun tomorrow. Stay safe. Anthony, good luck on the show. Make sure you tune in to the Cover One draft coverage starting tomorrow. What time to start tomorrow, Anthony?
8 p.m. I think we're going
tomorrow.
live, and same thing on
live reactions. I mean, the guys are great. Anthony from Disguise Coverage, Russell Brown.
Make sure we'll be on with the Air Raid Hour guys. They're hosting tomorrow night.
Yep, those guys are great. Steve and Dave. So yeah, tune in there. Also, day 2 of the draft, same thing. Tune in. Cover One has you covered all week. What about Saturday?
Saturday, Kevin Massar and I are hosting the day 3 of the draft. So, and yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
Entertained, right? A lot of downtime, so you got a lot of space to fill there, Anthony. So
exactly, yeah, we'll see. It's a long day. We'll see how long we hang in there.
Hopefully so fun though. Love this time of year, and be sure to tune in for our reaction on Tuesday. We'll see you Tuesday night, 9 p.m.
That's right. See you then.
All right.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.